I might not be in the majority when I say that there should be more video games that consist of nothing but walking around and talking to people, but I can't be the only one. The talking simulator is definitely a real thing. Some of my favorite smaller indie titles fit the description, but given the popularity of Mass Effect and Fallout 4, it's clear that giving a player dialogue choices is a viable system to introduce to mainstream hits as well. I'm not necessarily saying there aren't enough games that do this, but in a game like Fallout 4, the dialogue options are a drop in the ocean of different systems the game introduces to the player. Fallout 4 is a first-person shooter, an open-world adventure, an RPG with skill points to distribute, not to mention the various crafting and real-time strategy elements it attempts with its settlements. To call Fallout 4 a talking simulator is a little misleading. Lake is a narrative adventure game developed by Gamious and released for the Microsoft consoles and PC in 2021 and the PlayStation consoles in 2022. Like the Night School Studio titles I'm so fond of, not to mention the majority of dialogue-laden RPGs out there, Lake places its character conversation choices front and center, and the rest of the gameplay revolves around what we choose to say and with whom we develop a stronger rapport. It's this laid-back approach to gameplay, along with a refreshingly darkness-free storyline that leads to one important question. How chill is Lake? The standard chill rating system breaks down the qualities that pertain to a chill video game experience. All categories will be scored 0 through 5, and the end result will be multiplied by 2 to award a score out of 100 total points. Lake tells a story often seen in independent movies, but very rarely seen even in independent video games. We play as Meredith, who returns to her hometown to fill in for her father's postal service route for 2 weeks while her parents are away on vacation. The narrative is essentially a coming-of-age story with dialogue choices affecting mundane outcomes like who we hang out with after work, and significant outcomes that might affect the rest of Meredith's life. What sets her apart from most video game protagonists is she is 40 years old or close to it, and so it's more like a coming-of-midlife crisis story, which ends up being more relatable for me personally. From a chill perspective, it's beyond refreshing how the game doesn't force any melodrama into the plot. Lake is a slice of life, and cramming any more plot into those 14 days would have felt too coincidental. Our choices throughout the game do lead to multiple outcomes, but as near as I can tell, all of the possible endings are good endings. Lake receives a chill rating of 5 for content. Because the game unfolds over a preset 14-day period, the game's natural pacing is ideal. Each day takes around 20 minutes to complete, and if television has taught us anything, it's that this episodic pacing can be consumed piece by piece or binged all at once. The quest design is closely tied to the pacing of Lake, in that each day we are given a list of deliveries to complete for our job as a mail carrier. Some of these deliveries are uneventful, but others trigger story-related cutscenes and dialogue options. All deliveries must be completed before we can progress past the workday, so while we are offered superficial freedom in choosing the order we complete them, overall the game utilizes a linear design structure with minimal guesswork or fear of missing any content. When we do engage in story-related dialogue options, they are presented organically and are stress-free to advance through. Lake receives a chill rating of 5 each for its pacing and quest design. The actual visual fidelity of Lake is pretty underwhelming, especially given that the version I played was supposedly optimized for the PS5. I know it's not fair to judge the quality of a game's visuals solely on how good the water looks, but look at this water. Fortunately, in terms of a chill review, as always, I'm not here to judge the overall quality. From a chill perspective, Lake maintains a pleasant art style reminiscent of a painting. The character models adhere to a sense of realistic consistency, and to that point, the voice acting is superbly performed by pretty much all characters. We live in an era of AAA video games struggling to capture realistic voice performances, and Lake truly excels in this category. We can award a chill rating of 4.5 for its art direction. The bulk of Lake's music comes in the form of original songs played on the in-game radio. This is a fairly standard approach for any game that involves a driving system, but regretfully for Lake, there is a lot more driving involved than there are songs on the radio. I believe it's sometimes called lampshading when a story explicitly refers to one of its shortcomings, and Lake attempts to lampshade its lack of songs by including a conversation in which the local DJ admits he wants to add more to his playlist. I don't think I've seen this work outside of the most farcical of comedies.
Well, we cut corners. Sometimes to save money, our animators will reuse the same backgrounds over and over and over again.
And of course Lake is trying to play it straight the whole way. The music is at its best during the on-foot sections when the soundtrack consists of simple instrumentals, but these sections are so fleeting I had to go through my captured footage to confirm that I hadn't imagined them. Lake receives a chill rating of 3 for its music. It's not that the original songs are low quality, but but listening to them for 7+ hours on a very short loop is a surefire way to lose a couple chill points. Lake excels in embracing its laid-back approach to gaming. The entirety of the gameplay is made up of driving around the lake to deliver mail and making dialogue choices during conversation. Both of these aspects are simple to understand and execute. It's worth noting that Meredith reliably says exactly what the dialogue option says, and the control schemes for both of these sections are simple to use. Lake receives the full chill rating of 5 for its gameplay mechanics. Lake features an example of a saving system that I consider almost perfect. The game autosaves our progress at preset points as we advance the story, but along the way, we are free to manually save into an unlimited number of spots. This freedom to save is really only reliably found in these dialogue-laden games that feature branching choices and stories, because it allows players to avoid playing the beginning of the game several times for multiple playthroughs, and I wish it would be used as the new standard for all game genres. Lake receives a chill rating of 4.5, losing half a point because we are unable to save during cutscenes, and there are in fact entire chapters that only consist of cutscenes. When attempting to achieve the different multiple endings, like I did for my multiple playthroughs, this leads to having to replay entire days over with no option to save on the other end of them. Lake is a relatively light-hearted game compared to the usual darkness is spreading across the land plot that pervades the indie game genre. We are not tasked with saving the world or slaughtering countless people, and spoiler alert, I don't believe death is a plot point used in Lake at all. Combined with the game's lack of puzzles, lack of combat, lack of fail states, and the fact that the plot progresses no matter what dialogue choices we make, Lake receives the full chill rating of 5 for its dying mechanic. Lake features a notable lack of polish that even I found a little distracting while playing. The problems mostly consist of smaller details like pedestrians behaving strangely or mouths not really syncing up with the words being said. Perhaps the best example is the little steps that Meredith takes when she enters her mail truck, and the fact that the game then cuts to black to switch to a driving sequence. What's the point of the positional animation if we never once see her get into the mail truck? When you realize that you do this dozens of times throughout the game, after all, delivering packages is at least 50% of the gameplay, you can hopefully see why I feel like even little details like that could be improved to enhance the experience. Lake receives a chill rating of 3.5 for bugs and glitches. I played through this game 2.5 times to capture footage and make different dialogue choices, and experienced no crashes. Lake receives the full chill rating of 5 for crashes. Lake is the opposite of a difficult video game. It's a game that wants you to experience it, whether in small 20-minute segments or in 1 or 2 long sessions. Without including any plot points from the outcomes, the narrative is both unique enough to stand out and yet grounded enough in real life to be relatable to most people who feel the urge to play it. After compiling the individual scores, Lake receives a chill rating of 91 out of 100. This is the highest score I've awarded on my channel so far, and it will likely be a long time before I'm able to award higher. Lake is essentially everything I look for in a video game, and I truly do wish there were more games structured exactly like this, down to the third-person perspective that never threatens to give me a headache. It's only a few technical shortcomings that prevented Lake from being a purely relaxing experience. If you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing for more chill video game content.